Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the BombCast. I am Alicia, your host, and today we are having a conversation with Nick Martin. Nick is the Global Social Engagement Specialist at Hootsuite, and we are so excited to have him on today to talk about social media. So welcome, Nick.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So to kind of just get started, let's tell our guests or our listeners what a global social engagement specialist actually does. And that'll kind of give them some context into the way you can help us grow our businesses today on social media.
Yep, for sure. So as the global social engagement specialist, I focus on, our social engagement. So any conversation coming from Hootsuite, that'll be kind of under my domain. So I help set strategy for all of our teams around the world when it comes to engagement on their webinars, on our events, any sort of conferences we're at, any sort of conversations, again, with our customers or prospects, anything like that online. So that'll be something that I look over and oversee. And then I also, I coach social selling here. So, kind of on board with social engagement. Social selling is all about relationship building and making sure you can communicate and present yourself in an effective way. So I do a lot of onboarding here. I do a lot of kind of follow-ups and trainings, and I'll go around the world and make sure that all of our sales teams are all set up to do as best as they can online.
Awesome. So for our audience who doesn't really know what Hootsuite does, what exactly does Hootsuite do for social platforms?
Right. So Hootsuite is a all-in-one dashboard where you can put in, you can connect all of your social channels. So your Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of that. And you can run it all at once in one kind of easy place. And if you're using your campaigns and you're tracking analytics, you can do all that within Hootsuite. You can schedule posts. That's a big thing that everybody really loves about Hootsuite is you can schedule posts for the future. So you can come in on a Monday like today and have all of your posts scheduled for the rest of the week if you want to. But yeah, it's really just a social media marketing tool that helps you run your brand and manage it online easier.
Awesome. What social platforms does Hootsuite work with? What kind of limitations are there on managing your social platform from Hootsuite?
Yeah, so we're a key partner with all of the different social networks. So we have as much access as the networks will allow us to. So they have API that is available to all of their kind of key partners, and us being one of them. So the only limitations is pretty much what the networks say.
Okay.
We have or have not, what we can and can't do. But we work with Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of the big social networks and we're always looking to reach out and potentially partner with more.
Yeah.
But for right now, we kind of have we have a large ecosystem of partners that we work with.
Awesome. Well, that's good background for our audience to kind of understand where your expertise comes in here. So, obviously, most of our customers are not, managing social media for a massive company. They're individual salespeople, small business owners, or they're running a team or things like that. So my first question is, how do they decide what social platforms to focus their energy on? Because that's a question that we always get from our customers. Where do I put my energy? Where should I be focusing on, the next up and coming? Should I be trying to be a forerunner there? Or, should I stick to Facebook? What do you see as a good strategy for deciding where to put your energy?
For sure. We get that question a lot. And I guess I should also preface that at Hootsuite, we have free accounts and we have all the way up to enterprise accounts. So we have customers that are definitely like solo superstars is what we would call them, right? People who are managing the brand and running the business and doing all of this. So one thing that I like to say when you're a one-person business or you're kind of doing it all and carrying it all at once is try and focus and figure out where your audience is. So it doesn't make sense, as an enterprise account or enterprise brand, or, if let's just say you are a beer brand, for example, or you're a small craft brewery in a town, and it might not make sense to be working on Snapchat where the demographics is generally a little bit younger, right?
Yeah.
So you want to figure out who your audience is first and foremost, figure out who they are, and then dive in and figure out which social networks they're on. I always kind of recommend, as a when in doubt, go with Facebook and Twitter.
Okay.
Instagram as well is another one that's really engaging if you can create the content there. And with things like stories now, it's very easy to reach your audience.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the content piece is always a good segue, because even with focusing on where your specific audience is, do you find that it matters what kind of content is going to which platform, or maybe if you're really focusing your energy on Facebook, is it a bad idea to as well just make sure that you're getting content onto those other places? Or what's your experience there?
When it comes to creating content, whether you want to kind of personalize for each network, is that kind of what you're asking? Or whether it's just one size fit all kind of thing?
Exactly.
It used to. I like to say, like, I believe that it used to work where you could share the same blog post and kind of have the same copy shared to all posts. So I'll share to your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, whatever. Nowadays, you do have to personalize it a little bit more, because people and your followers and your customers are have grown to expect that. The social networks and the way people use social media has evolved. So people expect better. So when it comes to Instagram, the audience you have on Instagram is going to be a little bit different than the audience you have on Twitter. For example, people will have been using Twitter more and more for like customer support. They want to ask, they have questions, they have like lots of frequently asked questions will generally come through Twitter or through Facebook messengers. And Instagram can be a lot more fun. It can be a lot more behind the scenes. You can showcase kind of the lifestyle of whatever your business is. Like, say you're a one-person lawyer, you're a lawyer, right? Let's say we're a lawyer. You can showcase kind of the work you're putting in behind hours. Okay, I'm having a coffee meeting here, take a selfie or whatever. That can go up through Instagram, where on Facebook, maybe you want to showcase a little bit more customer stories, and Twitter can be a little bit more joining in on conversations and building yourself as a thought leader as well. So following certain hashtags and building yourself and joining conversations that are relevant to your industry.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. So any tips for the various platforms? Because obviously they are very, very different. So I'm going to go down a list of platforms.
Sure.
And I'd love to hear your one quick tip for what you should be focusing on that platform. So
okay.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is, I think, the word that comes to mind is FOMO. So we at Hootsuite, we try to create a little bit of fear of missing out with our posts when we're sharing on LinkedIn, because people are online, they're on LinkedIn, and I'll try and keep this quick.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Take your time.
Yeah. Everybody's on LinkedIn trying to learn. They're trying to, move up in the world. They're trying to present themselves as the business person that they are. It is the social network of business people. And people are generally on LinkedIn to connect with other business professionals, grow themselves, and try and learn and try and be better. So we try to present kind of FOMO. So what I mean by that, that's kind of the wording bucket we use. So, I'll give an example of like a post we write. So we'll be trying to share 10 things you need to know about how to be better on social media, whatever, right? Like that's just a blanket like blog post, but we'll say, if you don't do it, your competitors will be, and you'll be left behind. Sure. Right. And that's how you're going to get people to be, with our goal of this social network. We want people to be clicking through. We want people to be signing up to webinars. We want to be doing things like that. So with that goal in mind, that's kind of how we're getting people to click through, specifically because the audience is the audience of business professionals who want to be growing and learning and competing better and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Facebook.
Facebook, in the same sense, humor works really well for us, as well as kind of giving Facebook Lives is massive for us. We find a lot of engagement comes through Facebook Live, and there's lots of different things you can do with the Facebook Live. It doesn't have to just be walking around your office and showing what people are going on, what's going on in kind of in the background. You can do Q&As, you can do product launches. One thing I always try to tell people is ask yourself first, like, how can we turn this into a video? Does this have to be just a blanket press release? Can we do it through a video? Can we make this more engaging? Yeah. So always kind of ask yourself, how can you do this through video? And with Facebook, I think taking advantage of Facebook Live is something I recommend for everybody. And it's easy too. All you need is a laptop. I could be doing a Facebook Live right now, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Great. No, that's a good tip. I know our people will love that. All right, Instagram.
Instagram is a lot more fun. I think it's an opportunity to represent your brand in a cool and engaging way. I definitely recommend that people find their aesthetic. So what is the filter you want to use? What colors represent your brand? Little things like that can go a long way to curating your grid and curating your profile and making sure that it looks exceptional, right? You want to make sure that your brand stands out, because what happens is everybody's just sitting there, and I mean, I do it, you do it, probably everybody sits there and scrolls through Instagram. And how can you make your post the post that everybody stops and looks at and clicks through and engages with more? And how do you make them curious about your brand and make them want to share about your brand and things like that? So having a curated style, having high quality photos, investing in even just like a couple $100, like handheld, like DSLR camera can make a huge difference. And taking some time to edit the photo before you share it, things like that can go a long way to increasing your quality on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I think, sorry.
I have one more. No, you're fine, Nick. I have one more Instagram question, because you have these pieces of Instagram, right? You have your normal Instagram, feed, or, your normal profile, and then you have Instagram stories. So, what's the difference between posting to your Instagram versus your Instagram stories? And I guess the bigger question is, what are people looking for on your Instagram stories versus your normal profile?
Instagram stories can be very engaging. I like to say that Instagram stories, well, first off, for people who don't know, Instagram stories are ephemeral. They go away after 24 hours, or you can delete them before that. But after 24 hours, they're gone unless you highlight them and you can save them in your profile as stories. And that's what they are. Really, they're an opportunity for you and your brand to tell a story, whether it's a day in the life of a social engagement specialist, or a day in the life of the lawyer, like keeping with that story. But it gives an opportunity to, you can ask questions, you can, post announcements. Again, that's another awesome opportunity. And it's stuff that can be in the moment and authentic as well, which is very important. If we were going to start talking about trends in 2019, that's something that I believe is super important. So I think that representing yourself in an authentic way, and not being overly selly or overly you want to humanize your brand. So stories is a way that you can do that.
You just said one of our favorite buzzwords around here. You said humanize your brand, which is really what we're all about here. We focus on helping people humanize their communication in a way that makes it easier for them to connect, which I want to come back to, but I want to finish our tips here. Okay. We did LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. What's your Twitter tip?
I say share GIFs. I'm a big fan of using GIFs on Twitter. Another one is, when in doubt, cats get clicks. Add a cat somehow. That always works. The internet loves cats. But really, Twitter is very punchy. So provide the value that you can in the 240 characters or 280 characters, whichever it is. Make sure that you're providing real value, and overall, like, make sure that it's authentic as always, right?
Yeah.
But make sure that you're providing real value. And, you know, when you're asking yourself, like, why should I be posting this? Who am I helping here? Make sure that you kind of check a certain amount of boxes with things like that. You know, like, who is this relevant? Is this going to come off as salesy? Or, you know, why is this important? Is something you can always ask yourself before you share. But I always recommend that also engage. Make sure you're engaging on social media. Don't on Twitter specifically. There's so much conversation to be had out there. There's so much opportunity for growth and to have your brand be recognized and introduced to new people. So I think that using, you know, for example, in Hootsuite, you can set up search streams. You can follow hashtags. You can follow certain keywords. You can follow mentions of your competitors if you want to. So if someone's disgruntled and talking to your competitors saying, hey, I want to leave, you know, you can jump in there and say, hey, by the way, you know, my name's Nick and I'd love to chat with you more. If, you know, I could give you, going back to kind of social selling, you know, I could give you an opportunity to learn about our brand. Like
I love that. That's a pirate move right there. I love it. Oh, you're not happy there? Let me have a conversation with you. I love it. So you said something that I jotted down when you were talking about Facebook and Facebook Live was, you know, how could this be a video? So why? What is your draw to video, and how important do you think video is in part of your social strategy?
Well, first and foremost, going back to kind of like what we said, video helps humanize your brand. People see who they're talking to. They can see that, you know, we could have done this in a text interview and had it all printed up in a blog, but you don't get the personality there, right? Yeah. You can see who I am. I can see who you are. We're real people too. We're not just, you know, some sales robots or anything like that, you know, like, we're authentic, and this is who you're going to be dealing with. You're going to be dealing with Nick today when I talk to you. And that can go a long way in building trust with your brand. That can go a long way with, you know, people want to share about your brand and share about your company and whatever products they have, because now they know who you are, right? And they now they understand a little bit more about what you're about, and that you're a normal person just like them, which is it's a big thing these days, and that can't be kind of underestimated, like the power of humanizing your brand.
Yes, it really is. And you know, I work a lot, or we work a lot in the real estate and the mortgage space. And so there's always, these last year or so, there's so much fear around technology replacing humans, or what role technology should place, or there's all of this buzz about it. And what we keep hearing over and over and over again is that it does come back to that human element, that authenticity, that your consumers really do want to work with a human. Yes, if technology makes things easy, that's great. But when it comes down to, at the end of the day, people want to work with another human being that they can trust. None of us actually want to deal with robots when we're talking about making buying decisions. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that for sure. You know, like, it's something where you just want to have that trust. You want to have that knowledge that someone's helping me out here. I'm not just talking to a robot that's going through the zeros and ones, right? You want to make sure that you're talking to a human.
Yeah. You said right at the beginning that social selling is about relationships.
Yep.
How do you find that you are able to maintain that relationship authenticity piece while you're also very much working on a business strategy with your social media?
For sure. I'm lucky in the sense that my KPIs don't necessarily tie to any monetary things. Mine is more customer satisfaction and things like that. But if we're talking about, you know, real estate and mortgage and things like that, it is really, you kind of have to sometimes put the money on the back burner. I know it's hard to say, but you really need to build that base, that foundation of trust, and that foundation of your brand, building your personal brand online. And the sales will come. You're building more towards having advocacy, right? You want people to be referring you. You want people to be you know, recommending you to their friends, because that's where, like, a personal recommendation goes way further than Googling something. It's like, okay, best real estate in Vancouver. It's like best real estate agent in Vancouver. It's like, well, that only goes so far, right? I want to have someone who my friends tell me that they're the best, and I have like real, advocate, like people are advocating them to me, right?
Yeah.
Referrals, right? So that's where I think social selling kind of comes in, and you have to, how do you maintain that? How do you keep that up while also trying to keep the lights on? You can do it. It can be as simple as engaging just on social, liking a tweet, liking someone saying, hey, congratulations on your promotion that you saw on LinkedIn. Little reach outs like that can go a long way. Just knowing that someone's paying attention can help build towards that eventual sale, right?
Yeah.
Or, if you're a big community person, people recognize you as being part of their community. And I'm keeping real estate in mind at the moment, right? So I know in North Vancouver, I'm from, there's certain real estate agents who are always, they're just very visual. You see them all the time. They're obviously on bus ads and things like that, but they're also donating to local charities. They're helping, clean up the streets every now and then, things like that. But they also have a big social presence. Yeah. So they're showcasing this. They're doing Facebook Lives while they're doing this. They're doing Instagram Lives or sharing stories of, here's how we're helping the community that we're a part of today.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a really important point, because we focus so much when we are trying to educate people and teach them how to use social media to build their business, and, content's important and all of that. And we forget to sometimes really focus on the idea that putting stuff out there, if you're not engaging with people, doesn't really matter, right? It's this idea of using social media to build those relationships. You actually do have to put some work into engaging with people. You can't just throw content out there constantly and expect that that's enough for people, because that's the same as, it's just more marketing, right? It's like, you might as well just throw a billboard up on the side of the road if you're not going to actually build the relationships and engage with people.
Yeah. If you're on Twitter and you're just sharing posts and sharing content and sharing stuff without having put in the work to help build your following and have, or having relevant followers and putting in the work to make sure that the people, if we're talking about real estate again, that the people that are following you and are engaging and keeping an eye on you are from your region that you focus on. It doesn't matter. I think, if I'm a real estate guy in Vancouver, it doesn't matter if someone from Texas is following me, because how is that going to help me unless they're going to come up here and try and look in Vancouver? So you need to make sure that you're part of the community, and kind of almost right at the beginning, we talked about this, where you have to find your audience and know who your audience is. And if you know who your audience is, and once you understand really, like, truly who your target audience is, then you can build the campaigns and do the things that are important to them and relevant to them. And you can tell the story that will really resonate with them.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think there's a mindset shift that is important, especially for, what did you call them? Our solo superstars. I love that word. I'm so glad I wrote it down. I think there is a mindset shift for our solo superstars, that the point of social selling or using social media for this isn't necessarily to show how grand you are. It really is. It comes back to that value piece over and over and over again. Why are people engaging with you? Do you bring them value or not? And talking about yourself doesn't necessarily always bring people a lot of value. Yeah, you have to invite them in. Yeah. How do you make sure that your social campaigns are actually working? Because it does take time. It takes time to build up that following in the audience. I know that Hootsuite has ways to track that for people. But how do you really make sure that the effort you're putting in is paying off?
For sure. It would start by making sure that the goals you have and the goals you set for the campaign align with your overall business goals. So right off the bat, if the goals you have for your campaign don't tie into your overall business goals, you're already going down the wrong street.
Okay.
So making sure that, okay, if my goal as a real estate agent or as a mortgage broker is to drive more, people coming into open houses or something like that. Like we want people coming into open houses, or we want people, obviously selling their houses through me. Then I would make sure that my campaign is set up to drive that. Right? Maybe I'm driving people to my sign up page, or drive people to my, like, here's my phone number, call me right now, or anything like that. Because if you have a campaign that is sending people to click somewhere else, and then it's irrelevant, and it's already going to be not successful. Yeah. Right? Not successful in the way that you need it to be, at least. You can get tons of clicks and tons of shares and tons of retweets, but if it isn't doing what you need it to do, it's not going to be relevant. So making sure that you align your goals with your business goals and the campaign, that's the most important thing right off the bat. And if as a solo superstar, if you don't necessarily know how to do that, or if that sounds overwhelming, I would definitely recommend even just reaching out to have someone, a social media person, to build a strategy for you. Right? And you don't need someone to do it for you all the time, because really in the end, you are your brand. When you're a real estate person, when you're working in real estate, you are your own brand. So having someone like me sitting in an office tweeting for you, it doesn't make as much sense, because it's really you that's doing it.
Yep.
But having someone build kind of a frame, like a campaign framework, or a strategy for you for social media, can go a long way. And it for the most part, I would imagine is going to be worth the value. You're going to find the value in that. But how do you find success in a campaign? I also recommend you check in. So if you're doing it yourself, make sure that you go in and check in every couple of days. Is your paid social doing what it needs to be doing? Is it efficient? Are you seeing the efficiency metrics, like cost per view, cost per click, cost per engagement, whatever you have, if you are using paid social, which I would recommend people use. Is it in the area that you need it to be? And that will vary for everybody, like how much they're willing to spend, how efficient they need to be. But I would always, so make sure you're aligned with your goals and your business goals, and then constantly be checking in and tweaking and making sure that you're testing to make sure that you see the efficiency and the metrics that you need. Yeah,
that's great.
That makes sense.
That leads me to a really great question on the paid ads versus organic reach. What's your recommendation there? How do you decide where you're going to be organic and where you're going to invest your dollars to kind of expand your audience?
Right. So I'll kind of pull the curtain behind a little bit here, and I'll show what we do on the social team here at Hootsuite. So the reason why we go organic first for everything, but we also have kind of a set engagement rate where we see there's X amount of shares, X amount of comments, X amount of likes, whatever. Then we start boosting that, because we see that is top performing content and that's already resonating with our audience. So we take our organic posts that are doing well, and we have a content calendar where we're sharing, let's say, 5 posts a day on Facebook. And of those 5 or 10 over the next couple of days, things like that, if one of those posts does exceptionally well, and we can see that it's already resonating with our audience that have viewed it organically, then we put money behind that, because we can, that paid boost will kind of snowball it, and you'll see more engagement, and you'll see more clicks and signups and registrations and all sorts of things, because we already know that, and we know that that's going to work, because we can already see that the organic post was doing well. Yeah. Does that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know, organic is pretty much like an organic post is just a post that you don't have any money put behind. It's something that, like a regular post that you share to your Facebook page, as an example.
Yeah. Do you see a value in paying for a post that doesn't necessarily have a call to action or a real clear goal that's just for exposure? Or do you think you should really save your paid dollars for something that has a real clear call to action?
No, that's a good question, because, and it's kind of a cop-out that I'm going to say it depends. It depends on what the post is. If it's kind of like self-congratulatory, like I won an award, and here's why you should probably work with me because I'm the most trusted real estate agent in Vancouver or whatever, right? That there is value there because you're building your brand, and you want people to know that you're safe when you work with me. That is one case where that would be a good opportunity to put paid behind a post. Even then, I would probably suggest that someone adds a CTA to like email me here, right? Or click here to learn more or anything like that. You generally do want a CTA on a post, right? For the most part, like I always recommend you want a CTA on a post. So what am I saying? You want to have a CTA on a post so that people know what to do. You don't want to just have them there and say, oh, this is great. That's cool. I'm going to go work with Nick, right? But okay, if you have the opportunity to, you could say work with Nick now.
Yes.
So for the most part, and almost in any case, a CTA is better than no CTA. There's always going to be opportunities to go without a CTA, but when in doubt, use the CTA.
Yeah. No, I love it. It was a little bit of a loaded question. I mean, we work a lot on the email side. We work with social as well, but one of the things that I'm always teaching people is, like, if you don't have a CTA for your email, why are you sending the email? Like, if there's nothing that you want them to do, then why are you sending this? It's like, that's a waste of your time. Tell them what you want them to do, because
you really need to, you need to guide people.
Yes. And I think consumers want that. I think consumers want to be told what the next step is. And not saying that consumers are stupid, but to a certain extent, it's when you tell them what you want them to do, it's like, oh, okay, I'll do this now, as opposed
make it much easier for them and give them that next step. Because a lot of times people won't know. They say, this sounds great. What do I do next? And if you don't have that link, you don't have that click through opportunity, then people will be left behind and they won't know. So yes, definitely have a CTA. I was going down the wrong track there for a second. I was
no, I love it. It's great.
Someone who won an award.
No, it's good. So let's talk about what you see trending in social media for 2019. Kind of, you obviously, your social media is your job. You spend a lot of time in that space. So what are things that you see coming down the pipe for 2019 with social media?
For sure. Well, we every year Hootsuite releases a trends report, and I'll actually share that with you so you can share it with your audience after this. But one of the key trends, and we've actually talked about a couple already, but some of the key trends that I see and that we see as a company is stories. So storifying your social. How can you share this ephemeral, everything that's going on in your day-to-day? How can you use stories to be better? How can you reach your audience and be more engaging using stories, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on Facebook, whatever. Another one is building back trust. So brands right now, and specifically on social media, like a lot of social networks, people don't trust them because they think they're using their data wrong, and they think that they're doing a lot of shady things that have come out in the news recently, right? That people don't like it. And brands have been kind of tied into that, and as marketers, we have to be able to figure out, okay, how can I earn the trust back of our audience, of our followers, of our customers, things like that. And one way to do that would be is personifying, humanizing your brand. Right? Make sure that I kind of keep going back to it. It's huge. It's really, really important, and people need to know who they're talking to. Because otherwise they get a little nervous that they're talking to just some faceless company. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, at Hootsuite, we have, there's 1,000 of us here. And I try to make sure that all of our salespeople, at the very least, are using social and humanizing themselves, representing themselves well, and advocating on behalf of the business. So using, it's not as relevant, I guess I should say. One of the trends, let me start there. One of the third trend I was thinking of is employee advocacy. Now, if you're a solo superstar, you're obviously going to be advocating on behalf of your own company. But if you're a little bit of a bigger business, even if it's, 20 to 30 employees or anything like that,
Yeah.
Getting your employees excited to share about the business can go a long way, because then you have that kind of human referrals, right? Rather, it's so much more important when a friend of mine who works at a company and like isn't the CEO or the head of marketing, right? If they come up and be like, I'm actually pretty excited about this. This is cool. What's going on at the company? Here's this new release and this new product or whatever. And I'm proud of it. That's so much more important than when the company says, hey, we've got this really cool new thing going on, right? Yes. It's like, yeah, I know you guys are, right? But
and I think it's exactly what you said. It's the human element, right? It's it's the humanizing the company, the business into individual people that you can connect with. It's hard to connect with an organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can't go out go out after work with an organization, but you can go out with the people of the organization. You get to know them. Another thing that I think is pretty important, another thing that we've kind of touched on in our trends report is that brands need to step up their ads, their social ads games. And what I mean by that is last year paid social was a big trend for everybody. It was something that everyone started really focusing on, and Facebook ads, Twitter ads, Instagram ads, whatever. And now so many brands are doing it, and even audiences, are kind of getting weary of it. They have that fatigue of seeing so many ads that you have to step your ad game up and make sure that it's so engaging that people they have to stop when they're scrolling.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Kind of going back to high quality photos, strong CTAs, strong copy, making sure you're testing lots of things. So A/B testing your posts, and telling a strong story throughout your social, throughout your everything, throughout your marketing, right? So whether if you are a real estate agent, you're representing yourself and telling the story when you go out and you're networking. You're also telling that same story on your website. You want to be telling that same story on your Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere, because that is your brand. You have to figure out what your brand story is. And then that should also tie into what your paid social is saying as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I feel like the trends you see coming for 2019 is a good place to wrap up there. Really so grateful for so many of the things you shared. Talking about knowing really who your audience is so that you can provide value to them. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the video helping humanize so that you can build that trust, because it's what we do. It's how we want to empower our customers, is to be more human, because we know, and that when you are more human, people can connect to that, and connection is how we grow our businesses.
Absolutely. And we talked about CTAs. If anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, you can find me at Nick@Hootsuite, or you can talk to me at Hootsuite as well. Awesome.
No, we love it. Thank you, Nick, so much. Thank you for sharing your experience in social media. So much of our audience, it's not their job to do social media, and yet it's an important part of their job. So I really appreciate your expertise today and your thoughts. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thanks so much for having me. It was lovely to take this time and to share what knowledge I do have.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you.